to without knowing how to factor in your sleep. Left, right, up, down, any way you come across factoring. We'll talk about lots of different factoring techniques. So you will see Unit 1 is all about quadratics. It will feel like we are in Unit 1 forever, which is another reason why we have all the quizzes breaking it up too, because it is a super, super long unit. But the rest of the unit will focus on the algebraic portion of quadratics. Factoring quadratics. All right, so here we go. I think I'm going to just throw it out there. I'll run along this example that's on your sheet here if you want to follow along with that and just watch me, and then we'll do several examples. Or if you want to copy, whatever, the choice is yours. I obviously do not take up your notebooks or anything, but just in good habit, whatever you want to do. Now, before we start, there's something I need to define, and that is a GCF. How many of you have heard of it? Oh, sorry. How many of you have heard of a GCF before? Good. What does it mean? Greatest common factor. What does it mean in terms of a term? What is a greatest common factor or numbers? Give to me. Okay, something you can divide everything by with no remainder, right? It goes in evenly, and you want the biggest thing that goes in evenly. So, for instance, if I gave you what would the GCF of those two terms be? 5x, right? I can divide them both by 5, and then one has 2 x's, one has 1x, so I could take an x away from both of them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Greatest common factor. There you go. You're welcome. All right, so I'm looking for the biggest thing that I can divide both coefficients by, as well as the most number of a certain variable that I can take out. Okay, so let me give you another example. Let's put it in terms of a quadratic and see if you can. Is there a GCF in this quadratic? Yes, there is. What is it? 2. You're exactly right. 2, right? Well, close, but I can't divide 10 by 4. So you have to be able to divide them all, right? How do I, and I hope you've done this before. If you haven't, tell me to slow down. You haven't ever seen it before. How do I take a GCF out of something like a quadratic? Divide it, right? Put it on the outside and divide everybody by that GCF. It's kind of the backwards, in fact, it's not kind of, it is the backwards of distributing. So I'm going to pop that out of each piece. So when I do that, what's left in the first one? 4x squared. What's left in the next one? And the last one. Does anybody struggle with taking out a GCF? Don't be ashamed if you are. I'm going to take time to explain it tonight. Very good? And I'll take the GCF out. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's say I have yes, 81. Well, you didn't take an X away. So you got to keep it the way it is. All right, so the first thing I want to do is identify the GCF. So here, what would the GCF be? So biggest thing I can divide the numbers in front by, and the most number of variables I can take away. I hear 9, and we see because I can divide all of these by 9 evenly. 9, and they also all have what? X. This one's got 3, this one's got 2, and this one's got 1. So how many could I take away from everybody? 1x, right? I meant, like, I couldn't take x squared out because that very last one doesn't have an x squared. It's only got 1x there. Does that make sense? All right, so whenever I factor it out, and this is the most basic form of factoring is taking it out. I'm going to divide everybody by that. I'm going to put it on the outside and divide everybody by that. So if I divide this 27 by 9, what do you get? 3. And then I took 1x away from it, and it had 3, so how many are left? X squared. Does that make sense? How about the middle term? 9x, right? 81 divided by 9 is 9. I took an x away, it had 2, so it leaves me with 1. And then that last one, just the 2. That's exactly right. Yes, no, maybe so. Y'all okay? All right. Let's get to the fun part. Yay! Fun. All right, so just like taking this out is the backwards of distributing. Y'all remember whenever you FOILed two things together? Let me show you. Let's say I have something like that and I asked you to multiply it, right? You would have to start with the first term. I've never really liked FOIL. I like distribute better because FOIL only works when it's 2 and 2. We'll get to all that. I would take this first one, and it has to multiply to everything in the second parentheses, right? So x times x is x squared. X times -5, that's right. Now I'm done with this one, but I move on to the next one, and it's got to distribute through to everything. So 2 times x is, and then to the last one, 2 times -5, that's exactly right. And then what do? Not solving this time, but close. I think you're thinking of the right things. Combine like terms, right? So I've got -5x and 2x, which together gives me -3x. Remember, combine those coefficients, leave the variable. Good job. So that's an Algebra 1 thing, right? We FOILed or distributed or multiplied through a lot in Algebra 1. That's going from here to here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to factor, and factoring will take us from here to here. So I want you to see that it really is the backwards of distributing. And the beautiful thing about the method that I'm going to teach you is it will literally be these steps, step by step. You will start here, then you'll go here with these two terms split up, and it will bring you to this. So you will literally be able to see the backwards of the multiplying. Okay? Have y'all factored by grouping before? Is that how your teacher taught you? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So, you what? You don't remember? That's okay. That's all right. If you have never seen it before or you just do not remember, it may take it a while to sink in. Don't get frustrated with it. It's about we will do it so much. Oh my gracious, you should be able to do it with anything. All right, but I'm going to teach you my method, so here we go. I'm going to use the example that's on the sheet. If you are a visual learner and would rather to watch as I do it and follow along on the sheet, it may help you. If you want to watch and then give you a chance to copy it down, or if you want to write whenever I do, I don't know how you learn, whichever is best for you. But I am going to do the example that's on here. All right, so I start out with this quadratic, 12x squared plus 14x plus 4, and I am asked to factor. So it says factor. So the first thing I always want to do, and this will be the first thing you always do before you factor anything at all in the world, is you always check for a GCF. So my first question to you is, does this have a GCF? Yes. What is the GCF? 2. Is everybody okay there? I can divide all this by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. When I take that out, what is left? Plus. Everybody okay? All right. For the time being, I'm going to ignore that 2 out front, and I'm just going to focus on this part right here. It's not going to go anywhere at the end of the problem. I'm going to throw it back out front because I can't just get rid of it because I want to, okay? I'm not solving anything right now. I'm just writing this a different way. Kind of like instead of writing 6, I write 2 times 3, or maybe I write 2 plus 2 plus 2, or maybe I write 5 plus 1. Different ways to write the same thing, right? but I can't just get it, I can't do away with it because it's still part of the problem, okay? But for right now, I'm going to focus on what's underlined in red here. Now, step one, take your first and your last term and multiply them together. What do you get? 12x squared. Okay, here's the puzzle part of it. This is what I love about factoring because I love puzzles. It's also the most difficult part about factoring in my opinion. I'm not going to have you list them all unless you, I'll always tell you if you get stuck, start listing them all out. But here's what you're looking for. You're looking for two things that multiply to 12x squared, but they have to add to what's in the middle, 7x, 3x, and 4x, right? 3x and 4x. Now, if I did not recognize that at first, I might start listing everything I know that multiplies to 12. 1 and 12. 2 and 6. Is that it? And if I threw a plus in the middle of here and added them together, which ones would give me 7x? And it would be 3 and 4, right? Everybody okay on how I found those two numbers? Now, I'm going to, instead of writing 7x, I'm going to keep that 2 just trucking down here. I'm going to write 3x plus 4x plus 2. Is that the same thing? Sure, because we just said 3x plus 4x is 7x. I just wrote it a different way, right? And you see that right now, I'm at this middle step. Do you see how it's broke up here from 3x to negative 5 and 2? So from here, it's broke up from 7 to 3 and 4. Everybody okay? All right. Yep. Tell me when you're ready. Good. All right. Now we do what I have a lot of little McGee-isms that really wouldn't make any sense if you set them outside of here, but whatever. I slash it now. And here's why I do that. If you take after the first two terms, just put a slash mark. Because what I want you to do is not get overwhelmed looking at the problem, and I want you to look at this as two separate problems. Right now, I just want to look at these two terms right here. So just for those first two terms, and I'm gonna write this 2, but I'm gonna ignore it right now. What can I take out of, or what is the GCF of just the first two? 3x. We all agree. 3x. All right. Take it out of just the first two. So 3x, what does it leave? 2x plus 1. Okay? That's the GCF of these two is 3x, right? So just like I took this 2 out in the beginning, I took a 3x just out of these first two. Because it's the GCF. The 2x what? Okay, so yes, if I were to do this, 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. Remember, it's always the backwards of distributing or multiplying. Okay. Are you with me? I appreciate your honesty. Do you see why I use 3x? Do you see how I divided both of those by 3x? Look at the second two now. Look at the second two. 4x and 2. Now, you always want to bring this middle sign down. It's always going to stay the same. But looking at those middle two, what is the GCF of 4x and 2? 2. Because I can divide both of those by 2, right? Do the same thing. Factor it out of the second 2. So you take a 2 out, it leaves you with what? 2x plus 1. Ignore that 2 in the front for right now. It's just going to keep tracking down with the problem. Brackets. As long as you use at the end, you fix it back to the way it's supposed to be, yeah. Well, and this one's just a little different just because I got this 2 outside that's following it down. That's why I have the extra parentheses. Yes, it's all one. No. No, those are different. Okay, so if the GCF outside confuses you, don't write, just come over here and go from 6x squared plus 3x, see if this makes more sense. Slash it, I took out a 3x, it leaves me with 2x plus 1. Middle sign, I took out a 2 and it leaves me with 2x plus 1. No, that 2, that's an overall 2. It applies to the whole entire problem. So if it helps you to work it and then just at the end throw that first GCF back in front of it, then do that, if that helps you understand a little bit. All right, now here's the part that always confuses students. Do you know? Oh, y'all are already confused. This is the first group I'm surprised that's come through and not knowing how to do this. I'm a little surprised. Yeah. Did she? Okay. I say that just because the sheet that I gave you is actually an Algebra 1 sheet. That's why I said I'm really. It's yeah. That's okay. That's all right. Well, I'll get you there. I'll get you there. It's okay. It's okay. That's okay. That's all right. Oh, we have a while. In fact, it may be that we need to practice on tomorrow too. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Y'all just don't stress out on me yet, okay? Just stay with me. All right. Notice here something. What? What'd you say? Because they don't understand the factoring. Well, we haven't even made it through a whole example yet. So it's okay. All right. So now as I look at this, what do you notice is the same? The 2x plus 1. So you know how I've been taking out a GCF the whole time? Every time? I'm going to say 2x plus 1 is my GCF. It's a big one, right? Isn't this 3 times 2x plus 1 and 2 times 2x plus 1? And if you're multiplying, you can take a GCF out, right? And when you take out a GCF, you write it in the front, yes? So let me come back up. Let me do this one without the 2 in front because the 2 seems to throw you off. This is exactly the same, so I'm going to take it out. And when I take it out, I'm just going to put it in the front. So if I take it away from here, what's left? 3x. Plus, if I take it away from here, what's left? 2. Now it's factored. If the 2 is still there, it's going to do that. No, because you're taking, okay, let me show, everybody always asks that. What's the GCF? In green, what's the GCF? Y is the GCF. Factor it out for me. Put a Y outside. Why didn't you square the Y? It's in there twice. Right? I did the same thing here with 2x plus 1. Instead of y, it's 2x plus 1. 3x times 2x plus 1. 2 times 2x plus 1. It's just a bigger GCF, and it's confusing because inside the GCF I'm adding. Okay? If it confuses you, you can always just, if you're not, I'm a why person. I have to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. If you don't have to know why, you take the factor that's the same here, write it one time outside, and then what's left makes up your second factor. It's okay. This is the answer. What's your final answer? Like, because you'll see, we're going to use it to do other stuff. But this, remember, look at what we started with, and look at what we ended up with. Yes. All right, look at the bottom of your sheet. There are a few tips for you. Do not expect, if you did not know how to do this, to watch me do one example and be able to understand it. Part two, I always say this to students about math. You will watch me do a problem and go, oh, I got it, that's easy. And then you'll sit down and do it and go, what the heck? And that's because I know how to do it. So I know the next step to do and the next step to do. So it makes sense when you watch me do it because I know the logical steps to do it, right? You won't learn that until you actually practice with it. So make sure you're doing your homework and putting in that effort, because watching somebody who knows how to do it doesn't always, that helps you learn how to start doing it. You don't really know it until you do it, okay? I didn't really know geometry as well as what I should have until I taught it the first time, because I just, anyway, that's another story for another time. Let's do another example. Flip it over on the back. We're going to work through these. There are some times, math would not be math if there were not some exceptions to rules or some little quirky things that happen when certain things happen. So we're going to run through all those scenarios with the problems that are on the back. All right, so the first one. What time does the bell ring? Yeah, you do. This one? Okay. Flip it over. Flip it over. Oh, yeah, we got enrichment here. All right. I'm going to sit down for this. Yes, ma'am. What's wrong? Can we stop for enrichment? And we'll probably just work on homework. I'll be done by then. All right, here we go. Are y'all ready? All the same steps we're running through. All right, step one. Do I have a GCF? No. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have a GCF, and that's okay. But you have to look for one, okay? All right, so we're good on step one. Step two, look for a GCF. Multiply the first and the last term together. So x squared times 5. Now, what two things multiply to 5x squared, but they add to 6x? Look at you go, 5 and 1. 5x and 1x. These are the two numbers that I am going to use to rewrite 6. Okay, I'm splitting it up. So now I have x squared. Instead of 6, I'm doing 1x and 5x. Is anybody confused? Yeah. Where'd I lose you? Okay, first, sorry. Stop me if I do that. I get excited. Multiply first and last together, and then I do the puzzle. What multiplies to 5x squared, but adds to 6x? And that's what I'm using to split up 6x. Yeah. Say that again. Because they have to multiply back to x squared, and x times x is x squared. So they got to multiply to 5x squared, but they have to add to 6x. So they got to be like terms to add to 6x, right? But when you multiply them, you got to get a square. All right, slash it. One year I made that sound every time I did a factoring problem, and by the end of the semester, I was like, what do you do next? Everybody's going, they didn't even say it. They just went, anyway. All right, slash it. Thank you, I appreciate that, I really do. All right, what can I take out of just the first two? X, right? Take X out, and what is left? Anybody confused? If you take an X away from both of them, right, then what's left is here. If you distributed, what's X times X? What's X times 1? You might have. Nope. That's an excellent question. Does it matter where you put the factors? No, because multiplication is commutative. So if I put the 5 first and the 1 here, your factors are just going to be in a different order, but that doesn't matter. It'll still work. All right, middle sign in the middle. What is the GCF of 5x and 5? 5. Take it out. What's left? What if it doesn't do that, then you didn't factor right. And I'm glad you said that. When you get to this point, yeah. I'll post the video if y'all have to leave. When you get to this point, if these are not exactly the same, stop, you've done something wrong. Okay, and go back. All right, x plus 1 is my GCF, so I'm going to start by writing x plus 1, right? And then what's left over is what? X plus 5. How many's on there? I'll post it and let you know. I'll put it on Canvas and let you know. Let me think about how many. Yeah. Yes. You can hear me and see. Yeah, you can hear everything. The recordings are literally, so it's recording the sound and it's screen recording at the same time. You can't, so you can only see the board. It's yeah, but yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. No, you don't. No, you don't. I sound dumb because I sound like I'm screaming everything, and you can hear my pen click, and that's kind of aggravating. But other than that, do you have a question? Yes, and it'll just follow the problem all the way down until the very end. Yep. It's you just write it one time in the front. Yeah. Nope. No, just the one time. Yeah. I don't know which ones yet. Give me a minute. Let me think. I'm thinking about it. I don't want y'all bogged down. I was going to do them all, but I'm not sure that everybody's experienced enough to do 15 of them yet. So, yeah. What? Okay, I'm fixing to show you why, I think. Let me say this also quickly. Let's say I had put these in a different order. Let's say I had done x squared plus 5x, plus, which I think is what you did. And I slash it. What's the GCF now of the first two? X. What's left when you take that out? Middle sign stays. What's the GCF of these two? 1. When there's not a GCF, you can always take out a 1, right? So I'm going to put a 1 here, but it leaves everything the same because anything divided by 1 is just itself, right? So I leave it. Now what am I taking out up front? X plus 5. You write it one time, and what's left? X plus 1. Does that look the same? Yes, it's just that the parentheses are flipped, but that's okay because I can multiply forwards or backwards and it's still the same thing because multiplication is commutative. That's exactly right. Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. It just doesn't matter. Yeah, no. Yes. And I want to show you what happens here with that, yes. All right, so look at number 2. Does it have a GCF? No. Okay, this is going to be one of the, remember I told you math is quirky. It always has, not really an exception, but there's always something. This is going to be one that you'll need to make a note of, that's something that stands out. All right, I've got x squared times negative 12. So I've got to be very, very careful about these signs, okay? Watch them carefully. What multiplies to negative 12x squared but adds to negative 4x? Okay, you're close. If I do 6x and negative 2x, what does that add to? That adds to positive 4x. So I need to do negative 6x and positive 2x. Are y'all following me? You see why I have to watch these signs. Be very careful about signs. All right, so I'm going to rewrite. And actually, just for the sake of example, the order does not matter, but I'm going to put the 2 first to show you a little something that happens here. Go ahead and slash it. What can I take out of the first 2? X. What's left when I take that out? X plus 2. Now you remember how I told you always bring down the middle sign? This time the middle sign is a minus, okay? What that means is whatever I'm taking out of the last 2, I'm actually taking the negative of it out. So when the middle sign is negative, it changes the last sign. You could, but you'll run into some that you need 2 negative terms, and so you'll need to know to do it. But you're absolutely right. If I ever have a mixed sign, I always put the negative first. I don't have to do that. I took out an X from right here. It only that last sign is going to change. So here, whenever I take out a 6, because this middle sign is minus, it's going to cause this last sign to flip over. Oh, I didn't mean to put 2x. I meant to put x, sorry. It changes that very last sign. And remember what I told you, if you get to this step and your parentheses do not match, you have done something wrong. Okay? So be careful and make sure they match. All right, so I'm going to take the x plus 2. And once I use that, what's left? That's exactly right. How could I check to see if I'm right? FOIL it. Multiply it out. Multiply it out. All right. Look at number 3. I'm not going to work through that one right now, but something's missing there. What is it? The middle. So what is B? 0. Y'all want to do it? Let's just do it together real quick. Let's do 3 and 4 together. What time's the bell ring? 4? Okay. Oh, so I got time. I got time real quick. They didn't do announcements. Okay. Do I have a GCF? Yes. What is it? Both. So he's still working too. All All right, so I heard 4. Here's what I'm also going to do. I'm going to do 4x squared plus 0x minus 36. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that 4 out. It leaves me with x squared. 0 divided by 4 is 0. I'm doing this so you can see. And what's left here? Close. Go up 1. All right, multiply first and last together. That's exactly right. All right, here's where I have to put my thinking cap on. What multiplies to -9 but adds to 0? Y'all got it. Look at y'all. Y'all are so smart. 3 and -3. 3 plus -3 is 0. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times -3 is -9. Yes? So that's what I'm going to fill in. Instead of 0x, and again, I've got this GCF. Remember, ignore it. It's just going to follow the problem down. I'm not going to do anything with it, that 4. I'm just going to keep writing it. I'm going to do my negative first because I don't want to have to change a sign. What do I do now? Slash. On your test, you're going to say, what do I do now? And I'm going to say, GCF, that's exactly right. What's the GCF of the first 2? X. What's left? That's right. The middle sign stays. What's the GCF? 3. What's left? There you go. I know I'm on the right track because my parentheses inside match, right? Write that on the outside. Once the 4 is still there, just ignore it. Now I've got x minus 3, and what's left? Is it getting easier? No. What's what? When the negative sign is in the middle, the last sign changes. Parentheses, yes. Because really what you're doing is factoring out a negative when you do that. Yes, you absolutely can. Yep, absolutely. I am going to work the last one, but let's just go odds on your homework sheet so we don't get bogged down tonight. Yes, yes. And I'll do one of them with you now. I'll let y'all pick one and I'll do it with you and we'll do it together. Odds, yeah. Okay. And y'all don't have to check them. Ignore that part. Go ahead. Yes, yes. Yes, you do. All right, look on your homework sheet. Pick the hardest odd you see, and I'll work it with you. 4 on the back. No, all right, listen, several people asked me to do 4. Keep looking at the homework, and I'll come back and do one of those with you. Let me do number 4. I'll run through this one quickly. Yeah, it's just odds. Yeah. Do you have a GCF? I told you to look at the homework, and then I went back to the classwork. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sure. What? I did. Because it was missing. So factor it out first and then throw the 0 in the middle. Because you can always put a 0, right? jump straight into multiplying the first and last together. All right, I'm going to run back to this 4 real quick. We said 2. What's left when I take out 2? What multiplies to 6x squared but adds, careful, to negative 7x? Look at you. Negative 1 and negative 6. 2 negatives multiply to a positive, right? But they add to remain a negative. So that works. So now this 2 is just trucking right along down with this problem. X squared minus x minus 6x. Does it matter the order that I write that in? No, it does not. It does not matter whatsoever. All right. Slash it. What can I take out of the first 2? What's left? Close. X minus 1. Drop down the negative, and that's a problem for me. Why? There you go. I got to change the last sign. What can I take out of these 2? What is left? Keep the 2, but I'm going to ignore it. My common factor is x minus 1. When it's gone, what's left? Liz, did that answer your question? All right, hardest homework problem. Give it to me. I hear 5, 13, 3, 7. All of the above. Yeah, if you take the GCF out of 13, that might help. So 11, 13, and 15 all have GCFs to take out first. Two. 9. You don't take anything out. So it multiplies to negative 10y squared, but adds to positive 9. So 10 and negative 1. Go back to 4. This one? This one. Uh-huh. You mean like this part the same? So once you get that the same, you just come here and write it one time. And if you cross those out, then the next parenthesis is made up of what's left. X and negative 6. That's where x minus 6 came from. Sorry. All right, I know y'all have about shut down on me. It's been a lot today. I'm sorry. Quiz in here. You don't want me to work one of your homeworks with you? What? You knew odds tonight. You don't want to do it wrong, though. That's up to y'all. I know how to do it. If y'all don't want me to do it, I won't.